Ladies and gentlemen, today we'll be going over the process of replacing the LED screen on the Asus x55A. There's several variations of the x55. This one in particular is the x55A. You want to make sure that this is the same laptop you're working with, because they do differ, especially when ordering screen. The resolution is different, the screen size is different, so just be sure we are working on the same model. As you can see, very broken screen here. Sub tools you're going to need are a plastic pry tool, which you don't really have to use this. If you're gentle enough, you can use something like a flathead screwdriver, very small one, fine one. The only reason I use plastic is to make sure I don't damage the plastic bezel around the screen. But however, like I said, if you're gentle enough, you can use a tiny little, razor blade, a tiny little screwdriver, either way. You're also going to want a very small Phillips head to remove a few screws. And that's really all the tools you're going to need. When ordering screen, you can go ahead and use whatever vendor of choice, of course, wherever you get your screens from or wherever you may find one. I in particular like to use laptopscreens.com, only because I know the quality that they send. The packaging is safe, and I've dealt with them before. But again, that's laptopscreen.com. As you can see, everything's packaged nice. Cover up my address. And usually I guarantee that I get a good part from them. So, but again, whatever vendor of your choice, as long as you get the right screen. This will be our replacement LED right here. As you can see, the connector is at the bottom left as you're facing the back of the screen. This is the main connector right here. I'm going to put this aside for a minute. Now, before you start working on any electronic, especially on computer items, you want to go and remove the battery or any power source that may be going to it. So on this model, you want to unlock the battery, secondary lock, slide it out. Now that you got the battery out of the way, it's safe to start working on it. So now, a lot of laptops require you to remove the top bezel. Asus did us the favor and made it simpler. You do not need to mess with this bottom, just the top part. First step, well, after removing the battery, is, as you can see, there are tiny little squares right here on both sides of the screen. Flip that over. On both sides of the screen, you want to remove these, and this will expose two little Phillips head screws. Make sure you don't lose them. Put those aside. As you can see, there are little Phillips head screws right underneath. Let's put the other one. Just put something in there and pry it out with it. They are fine. Oh, there it is. Next step, take your Phillips head screwdriver and remove these two bottom screws. Now, make sure you remember which screw comes off of where. You don't want to confuse them. In this process, we don't have many screws, but regardless, you never want to confuse the screws because it will not be put together properly. You might have a problem with fitment afterwards, have to take it apart again. Once you got these bottom two screws off, take your pry tool. Some people even use they use credit card or anything like that, and start working your way around the bezel gently. As you can see, it comes off pretty easily. If it doesn't come off as easily, Just apply slight force, but for the most part, it's just some plastic clips inside. And should come off rather simply. Now you've exposed the actual LED screen. First thing you want to do, once the screen is exposed, there are two screws, one here and one right there. You want to remove those two screws. That will allow you to actually flip the screen down. And as you can see right here, there is your connector, which you can just grab the plastic and gently pull it out. And you've just disconnected your screen from the laptop itself. Now to go ahead and get ready to install the new one, as you can see there are two brackets, one on either side of the screen, that you're going to have to reuse. Each one is held only by a single screw, so go ahead and remove these brackets because they're going to go on the new replacement screen. Set those aside. And junk. Take your new screen, make sure if there's a protective film on it, you remove it. And any additional tape that might be left behind. Now, you want to go ahead and put these brackets back on the new screen. Very tiny screws, so you want to be very careful. There's one bracket. Let's get the other one on here. Just wrap it around the corner, lining up with the hole. Screw it right back in. Now, go ahead and lay the screen down flat, and you want to go ahead and connect this ribbon right back into the plug. Now, be very careful when you do this. Because if it doesn't go in properly, you're going to end up with a blank screen when you first go to boot up. I'll bring this closer to my face for a second to make sure I get it in right. Make sure it's in there nice and snug. Make sure there's no gap between the plug itself and the ribbon. Otherwise, like I said, you turn it back on and you will have no picture. If that is the case, if you connect your screen and you turn the laptop back on and there's still no picture, just break it back down. Make sure you got the plug in it properly. I have seen it happen before. Which is why I stress it's important to get it right the first time around. Go ahead and put these screws back in. This basically attaches the brackets back to the plastic bezel. Get the trim piece. This basically just snaps right back into place. Just want to apply a little pressure. Not too much, of course, otherwise you're going to break the new screen that you just put on there. Screw the plastic bezel back in on both sides. Trying to get a second screw, which I just dropped. Now, as you recall, we took off little plastic covers, these tiny little squares. They go right over the screws. Just like that. They already have adhesive on them, so they stick right back on there. Second one. Go and place your battery back in. Lock it in place. Plug your laptop back in. And there you have it. Brand new screen installed and operational. All in under 15 minutes. Well, once again, this has been the do-it-yourself guide for an LED screen replacement for the Asus x55A. Good luck.